It says Democrat fingerprints all over it.
Breaking news right now out of Washington, D.C. as we come on the air at this moment where two National Guardsmen have been shot near the White House. You are looking at live video right now of the scene. They were shot this afternoon, unbelievably, about 2 blocks from the White House. This is just, the only word I can think of here is just tragic.
Yes, Linda, tragic update. 2 National Guards members, as you mentioned, from West Virginia. Now, a suspect is in custody. We also learned that suspect was shot. Now, look at this video from D.C. This scene coming out of D.C. It shows a massive response across the area. Now, this shooting happened at the corner of 17th and 8th Streets in the northwest quadrant of the city. Investigators are still trying to determine what is the motive in this case.
It says Democrat fingerprints all over it. What I'm thinking is a couple of things. First, these members of Congress with their stupid ass video, they're putting our military men and women in harm's way. That's number one.
It makes me incredibly nervous that we're about to see people in law enforcement, people in uniform military get nervous, get stressed, shoot at American civilians.
We believe that the National Guard and the military occupation is the first step into rounding black people up and putting them in detainment camps here in Washington, D.C. and around the United States of America. We believe that.
Investigators are still trying to determine what is the motive in this case.
What do you think, as a lawyer, what do you think the consequences should be for people who are abiding by following these steps from the commander-in-chief when they seem to be complete overreaches of power?
They're following unlawful commands from Donald Trump. And if you're committing offenses and your defense is going to be, I was just following orders. You know, that didn't work out so well at Nuremberg. It certainly didn't work out so well for Lieutenant Calley when he, engaged in mass murder, the My Lai massacre. And, Pete Hegseth just doing whatever Donald Trump tells him to do, like initiating a criminal investigation that could result in a court-martial of Senator Kelly for simply stating accurately what the military law provides, or Kash Patel's FBI opening criminal probes of members of Congress for speaking the truth. That is something that will someday, when the rule of law comes back into the light of day, will have to be tackled. They'll have to be held accountable for those abuses.
It's going to be accounting for all of this and remembering all of it. Glenn Kirshner, thank you so much for being here, helping make sense or explain a lot of this.
Investigators are still trying to determine what is the motive in this case.
Actually, what the president is doing through the Secretary of Defense is creating units, official military units, to, quite frankly, watch the American people. And that's the thing that is absolutely abhorrent. It reminds me so much of what happened in Germany in the 1930s.
It says Democrat fingerprints all over it. Number two, now that we're finding out that this shooter is an Afghani national that came in during in the year 2021. Well, gee, what happened in 2021? Oh, yes, it was the botched withdrawal of Afghanistan from Joe Biden, one of the very worst geopolitical and military decisions by the former president of the United States. We knew at the time that there were Afghan nationals who were coming into the United States that were not being properly vetted. We were being told, just get people to the United States as quickly as possible. And then the Biden team would do the necessary work of vetting everybody. And even at that time, none of us believed that on Capitol Hill. So now, 4 years later, we have an Afghan national in the streets of Washington, D.C., who decided to shoot to kill. Let's be clear, shoot to kill 2 of our National Guardsmen from the state of West Virginia. This is disgusting. And it says Democrat fingerprints all over it.
Operation Allies Welcome is the ongoing effort to bring Americans home and to bring vulnerable Afghans to the United States and support their resettlement. The President of the United States has the authority to designate a federal agency to lead a federal response. Last Friday, he designated the Department of Homeland Security as the lead federal agency to coordinate Operation Allies Welcome.
Deemed a security risk of some kind. reassurances can you make about the screening process and the attempts to make sure that somebody like that doesn't make his or her way here?
I can absolutely assure you that no one is coming into the United States of America who has not been through a thorough screening and background check process.
You're referring to what we termed Operation Allies Welcome, a program that we are very proud of, that we instituted to provide refuge for individuals, many of whom...
Will you be reviewing those they came in on parole? Will you be reviewing them on a case-by-case basis?
We reviewed them on a case-by-case basis, and when those parole periods are subject to renewal, we will do so. It certainly is. Operation Allies Welcome, which we led in a coordinated effort across the government, is a great source of pride for us to bring to safety in the United States individuals who stood alongside our armed forces.
A few years later.
Here it is. What do you know?
Well, this individual appears to be from Washington State. It appears that he immigrated here into the United States in 2021 as part of the operation to bring Afghanis who had worked with or assisted the United States government over into this country as Afghanistan was beginning to fall.
The Special Immigrant Visa Program, SIV program.
Right, exactly. This was the Allies Welcome program. He applied for asylum under that program and was granted that asylum in April of this year, although he's been here, it appears, since 2021. So that sets this in a place where the FBI is going to be looking at what was the vetting that was done prior to his arrival here, when he settled in Washington, what has been his activities here in the United States, what brought him to Washington, how long has he been there. But it's going to give them a better direction at this point as they try to get from who is this individual, which they believe they've established, to what is his motive. Now, a number of motives could come up there. One could be that he was disenchanted in the United States. Another could be that he was angry at the U.S. military or felt betrayed and came upon people in uniform when he traveled to Washington. Or it could be something altogether different.
Investigators are still trying to determine what is the motive in this case.
This is a Fox News alert. Two National Guardsmen in critical condition tonight after being shot in a targeted attack just blocks from the White House. The lone suspect is in custody. Sources telling Fox News that the gunman is an Afghan national who was let in under Biden and then overstayed his visa. And this is in just moments ago. The suspect apparently waited for the guardsman to come around the corner, then opened fire. He shot a female guard in the chest, then walked up, took her firearm, and shot her point blank in the head. He took her weapon and fired at other guard members, hitting one in the neck before a third guardsman engaged him and brought him down.
We know that the president was quickly briefed, and then he posted on Truth Social updates. He shared the suspect who shot the two National Guard members is severely wounded and will, quote, pay a very steep price. He wrote, "God bless our great National Guard and all our military and law enforcement. They are truly great people."
The anomalous situation of Afghan refugees, our former translators and guards, security people who worked with us, put their lives on the line, have been brought to this country in a parole status, which unfortunately now is ending. I'm urging you to extend the parole status of Afghan evacuees and do it enough time to advance the expiration of that status to avoid uncertainty and anxiety. Is that something that you have under consideration?
Senator, it certainly is. Operation Allies Welcome, which we led in a coordinated effort across the government, is a great source of pride for us to bring to safety in the United States individuals who stood alongside our armed forces in Afghanistan. We support the Adjustment Act, and we are indeed looking at the period of parole, its upcoming expiration, and whether indeed that should be extended.
There are, as you know, more than 88,000 Afghans evacuated flown out of the country and resettled in the United States, and about 90% of them were granted parole for only 2 years. And so they live in this netherworld of immigration status where it's difficult for them to make plans, to get jobs, to even get housing. And so the sooner you can extend that parole status, the better, as I'm sure you understand.
How many Afghans, Mr. Secretary, have been admitted to the United States through parole since the fall of Kabul? 2 years ago.
Congressman, I would be pleased to provide you with that data. I don't have it.
There were 70,192 Afghans that were brought into the United States. They were brought here on parole for 2 years. Will you be reviewing each individual status on a case-by-case basis as this expiration happens?
Congressman, you're referring to what we termed Operation Allies Welcome, a program that we are very proud of, that we instituted to provide refuge for individuals, many of whom...
Will you be reviewing those they came in on parole, will you be reviewing them on a case-by-case basis?
We reviewed them on a case-by-case basis, and when those parole periods are subject to renewal, we will do so.
The commander down at Fort McCoy in my state, when I interviewed him 2 years ago, he said they were not interviewed.
It says Democrat fingerprints all over it.
On a case-by-case basis. In fact, in the terror hotbed of the world, Afghanistan, which should have a special immigrant visa process, previous administration used that to make sure to fully vet. Not one of those people that came in from Afghanistan were sent through the special immigrant visa process. They were simply given parole.
Investigators are still trying to determine what is the motive in this case.
It says Democrat fingerprints all over it.
Do you know how much damage was done to Fort McCoy during that period when those 12,000 plus Afghans came in?
Congressman, the individuals who were benefited from Operation Allies Welcome were indeed screened and vetted by government personnel.
They were brought in categorical parole, Mr. Chairman. There was $145.6 million of damage that was done to Fort McCoy. Did you realize that?
Congressman, we're very
The place was virtually destroyed. I want to move on.
It says Democrat fingerprints all over it.
We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden, and we must take all necessary measures to ensure the removal of any alien from any country who does not belong here or add benefit to our country. If they can't love our country, we don't want them. America will never bend and never yield in the face of terror. And at the same time, we will not be deterred from the mission these service members were so nobly fulfilling. That is why tonight I can announce that I have directed the Department of War to mobilize an additional 500 troops to help protect our capital city. We will make America totally safe again.
It says Democrat fingerprints all over it.
In the Biden administration, the Democrats have inflicted on this nation the worst national security threat in our history. We've never faced a threat like this. 20 million people brought into our country from the most failed societies on earth. Afghanistan, Somalia, Libya, Iraq, brought here. No vetting, no conditions, no rules. Brought here on visas, brought here as refugees, brought here as asylees, brought here as illegals. Brought here in every way imaginable, by plane, train, bus, automobile, by land, by sea. For 4 straight years, they deluged this country. And now more blood is being spilled as a result. What you heard tonight from President Trump, the breaking news here tonight, is saying that his government is going to accelerate efforts to review every person added to this country over the last 20 years, or the last 4 years, all 20 million. Now, obviously, if you're illegal, you're out automatically. But everybody else who was brought here, refugee, asylum status, whatever status, as he said, if you're not someone who loves this country, if you're not adding benefit to this country, then we're going to send you out of this country because it's enough already. No one else has to die. No one else has to be murdered. No one else has to be shot. No more empty seats are needed at the Thanksgiving table or the Christmas table because of what Democrats have done to this country. So tonight we heard from a commander-in-chief a historic announcement, a brave announcement, exactly what America needed to hear, Kellyanne.
Investigators are still trying to determine what is the motive in this case.
It says Democrat fingerprints all over it.
Less than 2 hours ago, President Trump said that 20-year-old West Virginia National Guard member Sarah Beckstrom has died from her injuries. Guardsman Andrew Wolfe was also shot yesterday in what officials are calling an ambush. Both Guard members were patrolling the streets of D.C. when they were shot just a block away from the White House. The alleged shooter is now in custody. President Trump making the announcement from his estate in Palm Beach, Florida, where he is spending this Thanksgiving holiday.
I must unfortunately tell you that just seconds before I went on, right now, I heard that Sarah Beckstrom of West Virginia, one of the Guardsmen that we're talking about, highly respected, young, magnificent person, started service in June of 2023, outstanding in every way. She's just passed away. She's no longer with us. She's looking down at us right now.
West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey confirming the news on social media tonight as well. He wrote in part, quote, a few moments ago, Specialist Sarah Beckstrom passed away from the injuries that she sustained during yesterday's horrific shooting. This is not the result we hoped for, he said, but it is the result we all feared. Sarah served with courage, extraordinary resolve, and an unwavering sense of duty to her state and to her nation. She answered the call to serve, stepped forward willingly, and carried out her mission with strength and character that defined the very best of the West Virginia National Guard.
20-year-old Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom and U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolfe, both sworn in less than 24 hours before they were ambushed.
They were uniformed members of the West Virginia National Guard, and they were in D.C. to keep D.C. safe, pursuant to President Trump's executive order to make D.C. safe and beautiful.
Officials are also releasing new details on the lone suspect who remains in the hospital. Investigators say 29-year-old Rahmanullah Lakanwal from Washington State was an Afghan national who drove cross-country to allegedly carry out the attack. The CIA says he previously worked with the U.S. government in Afghanistan before moving to the U.S. in September 2021. Following the American withdrawal from Afghanistan. Officials saying the suspect used a .357 revolver.
We were able to serve search warrants literally overnight and through the night.
All night.
During that process, we seized numerous electronic devices to include cell phones, laptops, iPads, and other material that is being analyzed as we speak.
The Trump administration says the attack has prompted a full review of all asylum cases approved under the previous administration.
You miss all the signs when you do absolutely zero vetting.
So far, investigators have yet to say publicly what the motive may have been for the attack. President Trump offering the full support of the federal government and saying the suspect will pay a very steep price.